Hi, fellow pipe smokers. So this is Paul the Pipe Guy, and I wanted to do a short video on how to properly store your pipe tobacco. Um, it's a lot cheaper to buy pipe tobacco in bulk, and there's a couple different methods that I use to store my tobacco. Basically, I started out with a humidor. This one actually I made. Has all solid brass hardware, and basically inside of this I have some aromatic cherry, or actually aromatic apple tobacco. Now, the construction on a good humidor basically has Spanish cedar lining. So everything is basically, it's a box within a box. So I have the outer box, which you can see here, and then there's an inner box, which the bottom, all the sides, and the top is made out of genuine Spanish cedar. Now, you can use this, which is a humidifier, and basically you fill this with water and you stick it up right in there. So the thing that you need to be cautious of in using this type of method is when you fill up your water, basically this is a humidifier, it holds water, and only use distilled water. If you use tap water, you're basically going to end up with a good potential of getting mold and so forth in your smoke. So the way that I do this is I'll fill it up with a generous amount of distilled water, spilling this all over until it reaches the top, and then I let it sit for a moment. And then what I do is I actually shake the excess water out. Now, the reason why I shake the excess water out is because you don't want water dripping down inside of your tobacco. There's additives in tobacco, and you don't want to have the water wash that out in any areas that it might drip. So the only drawback to this method here is you do have to refill this up probably about once a week, once every 2 weeks, depending on your climate. A lot of times what I'll do too is on the top where the Spanish cedar is, I'll take a cotton ball and take the distilled water and I'll basically moisten that whole thing, so that just gives you that extra oomph. Now, I've kind of neglected this apple aromatic tobacco a little bit, so it is a little bit dry, and aromatic tobaccos traditionally have more moisture in them. So now I should be all set with this. Put it back in there, and away she goes on the desktop. The second method I use to store my tobacco is a mason jar. And mason jars are perfect for storing items, keeping the elements outside, keeping the moisture inside. They're basically designed to can food, so it does have a nice little seal around here. Okay. And then a screw-on cap, so when you put your tobacco in your mason jar, bingo, right there, it keeps the moisture in, it really does. Now, what happens though is when you're using this mason jar and you're loading your pipe, you're constantly opening and closing it every time you load your pipe up, and so some of the moisture when you do that does escape. So basically the method that I use, because the humidifier that I just showed you doesn't fit on this lid. So what I do is I take some tin foil and I'll roll it up into like a little bowl. And then what I'll do is I'll take the cotton balls, which these still have some moisture in them, but I'm going to freshen them up just a little bit here. And basically soak the cotton balls. I use 2 or 3 cotton balls. And then I place them back in here. And drop it right into the top. And there we go. And here again, you want to be careful. You don't want to spill any distilled water on the tobacco because you don't want to ruin it. The other thing that I like to do is, because I buy it by the bulk, now these are 1 quart mason jars, so I buy it by the pound. And depending on what the market is running at and what type of tobacco you are, I love aromatics. So like my cherry aromatic, my apple aromatic, cherry's my favorite. I like to put the date on the top, and just to keep track of, how old it is. And tobacco actually, as it ages in the proper environment, actually gets more smooth and better. The other thing with the mason jars is you do not want to store these in direct sunlight or high temperatures. That can spoil your tobacco a little bit. So I keep mine in my living room on my desk, and I buy a 1 pound bag, which runs between $45 and $55 delivered, versus spending $15 for an ounce and a half at the smoke shop. I'm getting my, and this is Captain Black aromatic cherry tobacco, by the way. But $45 to $55, I get them online. I was getting them through pipesandcigars.com, but then they, I don't know, now they want $50 for a 12-ounce can. So I found another place online where I got it. So that's my take on tobacco storage. And like I said in one of my other videos, I have a friend of mine that actually, when his grandfather passed away a couple years ago, he received his grandpa's tobacco and his pipes. And his grandfather also dated the top of the mason jar. And this was from 1980, so we're talking 40 years ago. And he said that it was moist and just like the day it had been bought, but it was really smooth because it had been aged. So that's another reason why I like to write the date on mine. Now, if you get a 1 pound bag, it does come somewhat compacted. They send it that way. Basically what I'll do is I'll fill my mason jar up. I'll take a piece of paper, fold it in half, place the tobacco on there, and then funnel it in. But I normally get about 3 quarts, and I don't like to fill them all the way up to the very tip top. I'll fill them about 3/4 the way up. So I basically fill 4 1 quart mason jars. And so anyways, it's my take on storing tobacco. If you guys have any other ideas or different methods that you use, I'd like to hear about it. And if you like what you hear, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And we'll have something good for you within the next week or so. So that's my take on storing tobacco. And fellow pipe smokers, happy smoking. My name is Paul the Pipe Guy. Over and out.